photographer. I studied fashion communication and promotion at uni, and I specialised in photography. And a lot of my previous work has been focused around the fashion industry. Everything was quite planned and organised and set up to run smoothly. And then I kind of had a little hiatus between leaving uni and coming here. I came here and I've been able to work, like do a completely different set of work and a completely different, and like my reflection on her passing to produce these works. And I wanted to capture the mundane and the everyday life that kind of gets missed in people's day-to-day lives. Like I feel like people can't stop and like sit with their own grief and their own sadness, or not even sadness, but like happiness. Like I feel like people are always trying to like move on to the next and explore what other opportunities they have, which is great and like it's encouraged, but sometimes you need to sit with the sad periods in order to appreciate the happy ones. And like I think using the darker tones in the images and the absence of life reflects the grief and the losing of someone. And then I did a little self-portrait series because I wanted to be more intimate, and I wanted to have people like keep their the moment alive, and people need to experience things and embrace things. And the reason why I focused on my mouth was because the main form of grief and the main form of reflection is through communication. And I think if you have no communication, you can internalize things as much as you like, but if you don't have your mouth, if you can't vocalize, for me, you kind of left on this winding path of sadness that you can't really feel a pull to. And I think coming here and detaching from that feeling and that emotion and that sadness is being able to reflect upon my work and embrace the sadness, embrace being sad, but also embrace being happy. Like you need to be happy, you need to kind of have the flow, have the good with the bad, and I think I want to encourage people to do that. I want to encourage people to sit with the bad, sit with the good, and enjoy it, and enjoy life, and embrace everything that's coming, I think. And I think, that's me.
I think something that maybe is not so obvious for somebody that came from outside is that all this picture was actually taken.
Oh yeah, all of the images are taken in here. It's like a little time capsule for my experience while I've been here, while I've experienced what I've experienced while I've been here. I've just, and it's nice to have something right under your nose instead of going out and searching for something that necessarily isn't out there. You've got it here, like embrace it, take what you need to take from it, and go and learn your lessons and be good. But yeah.
Oh.
Any question? Feel free to ask. One commentary I was going to make is that for us it's very strange to see how you really capture the light of the house, of the division, and for us it's difficult to recognize the space through your lens, which is something that I think is very magic that has happened there.
Yeah.
And also your attention to the neurologic part is
Yes,
something you
yes.
comment, but I think all these brains give it timeless kind of space.
Yeah.
And also make us look at them in a different way.
Differently.
Approach them, our own perception of how an image is built somehow.
Yeah. No.
So it's just a...
No, I really like the analog versions of things. I like traditional ways of working, and I've been able to capture, like, there's like the second image in from the left is quite clear, but then you can really pick up the grains from the others. People say, I mean, it's the technique. It's like, is it a flaw in an image? Because you could compare that to a digital image, and people would pull it apart. But like, this is the type of thing that I love to do. I love to produce things that are a little bit different, a little bit blurred. Like, you can't necessarily see things with the naked eye, but the minute you put a lens in front of it, it completely alters and completely changes your perception of it. And that's what I really love about photography. Even when it comes to these images where they've been scanned, I've decided to keep the border on them, because like the tape and the layers and how they've been scanned in, and like the bleeding of the images, like it's a rawness that relates to the concept, and being raw and being sad and being like grieving for something. It's a raw experience, and it's something that I really wanted to capture within these images. Yeah.
And also the detail of the rest of the roll.
Yes. So these black stripes are, so these were the last images of the rolls of film. So this is where the film's being cut off, and I like the harshness of it and the contrast between the actual image, and you can get some beautiful imagery from the contrast and from how it's developed. And it's not just a flat image, and you don't just plug it into your computer, edit it, and then it's done. Like, it's a raw experience, and you don't know what you've got until you wait a week for it to be developed, and you have it in your hands, and you're like, oh, is it good, is it bad? Like, you don't know when you're shooting it. And I think that's
an inherited composition.
Yeah, and that's
because it's the last one, because it's a surprise one.
Mm-hmm.
Because the last one, or these ones are the unofficial ones. Usually have 38, 36, so these are the 39 or the 40th, so these are like the surprises.
Yeah, I think it's the beauty of shooting in film, and it's the unexpected. And again, like, I did lose my grandma really unexpectedly, and it was a bit of a, like, for my immediate family, it was quite traumatic. So having these unexpected images, these unexpected feelings, it's full circle. It kind of relates all back to each other. But yeah.
I have a question for you. Have you done any self-portraits before?
No, this is the first time. I've never...
How did it feel doing those for the first time?
I thought it was going to be daunting, but it wasn't as daunting as I thought it was going to be, because I'm normally used to being behind the camera, and I have to plan for someone else to be the image focus, someone else to be, even still life. I haven't done still life until I've come here. Like, I was always taught to keep a model as like the focusing point. So to come here and create these images, it was really refreshing, and it was refreshing as well to like use my own self as the main focal point, because I've never done that before, and it's an interesting thing that I'm prepared to look into further. Like, I'm happy with how they've come out. I'm happy with what I'm presenting. It's all positive, I think.
It's interesting, like with the two, this is just a comment, it's not a question,
Mm-hmm.
like the two opposing bits here, and I just realized now, once you started talking about the self-portrait, and obviously I love this,
Mm-hmm.
and aesthetically I respond to it immediately, but obviously, and the fact that you started with like the void, there's like this empty space, and it is empty and it's sad. You're just kind of starting from the minimum. What is in the kind of in the least? What is there? And in there's very little. But then suddenly there's you fill the space. So it's kind of your, I suppose, in terms of what you've been saying, your own kind of energy and desire for life and to move through or in this grief. But there's a vibrancy and a life, and so you fill the emptiness, both through your presence, cleaning your teeth, and just being a happy person, but then also filling it through the lens of being an artist, looking at it. Yeah, I'm gonna stop there.
No, I think that's that you've described it perfectly, and I think that even the juxtaposition between having portrait and landscape, I like the differences because it gives a viewer a little bit extra to look at. It's not just 7 portrait images, it's 4, then 2 little close-ups, and then 3 landscapes. I think it's a little bit extra, and they all kind of seem to work together, but they work well separately as well, which I'm really happy with, and I'm happy that it's been taken in as what I've wanted it to.
That's
okay.
It might be very self-evident to say this, but particularly these ones really feel like I've entered into a memory. And obviously photography is memory, it's an immediate archive of a moment in time. But these especially have the softness of what physically experiencing the memory feels like.
Yeah.
And even though these were taken in this space, this feels deep in your past almost. I don't know, it feels, they still feel very intimate to me, even though they are empty. I have nothing to say than that, but I really like that the feeling that I get from this, and it really does feel like you've invited us into quite a vulnerable headspace. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
It's such an important commentary because I think it's really different for us to see this image and thinking, is this ours? Because it's really a particular light, a particular framing, and it makes it so phantasmagoric in a way. That's what you are also commenting about memory. This window is this window. Maybe it's not so evident because it's a different light.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's move on to Sophie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sophie. Hold on. Yeah, just.
Of course, it was
Does it have to sit?
Yes,
This way? Live stream. Izađemo na prvo mikrofon i Sophie. Lumina. Sempre continua live stream.
Okay.
Where's best to stand? Maybe. Yeah. Okay. So to start off with, I'll explain kind of what I was trying to unpack for myself, and that was the feeling of desensitizing oneself from difficult realities. So I grew up in South Africa in a small town, small university town, and clearly I'm a white South African, and that's a very particular social and political and cultural location to come from. And so I grew up in quite a multiracial community, which was very lucky. A lot of white South Africans are still very segregated from society. And something that I really found made me very angry and uncomfortable throughout my life was watching and experiencing in myself the cognitive dissonance that one almost has to employ in order to exist in the South African context, where inequality and the violence of apartheid is still so present and real. And I've kind of begun to articulate it more now because I'm watching it happen not only in South Africa, but now that I'm living in the global north, in Europe. I'm watching these massive political moments unfold that are really about our own collective humanity. And the thing that I'm seeing more and more is how we are dissociating from that reality so that we can avoid any culpability, accountability, any sense that we are a part of this greater fabric. And so I really responded just aesthetically and not in a very conscious or articulate way to these images that I was seeing of these really ancient statues that were a little bit broken up. You can see like it's the kind of shoulders and head are kind of torn off here. Here it's a highly fragmented bust. And I think they're either ancient Egyptian or ancient Roman, and they're from like 100 BC or something like that. So very old. And I responded to those because I felt that they articulated this act of internal separation and compartmentalization that we have to go through in order to exist in our community, society, world without taking any responsibility for it, and also without experiencing true connection, true joy, true pleasure. If you cut yourself off from these very fundamental parts of being in relationship to other people, which is taking responsibility for your place, you're also cutting yourself off from a deeper felt embodied connection to people. So the kind of phrase that I started off with this work specifically, and I did other paintings that kind of involved that, was I cast out my senses. And so I was really thinking about very kind of literally like these are all ears, they're my own ears, like kind of cutting off your own hearing, your own sight. And I kind of pulled together these fragmented phrases from all over the place, from stupid shit too, like from notes on like YouTube, from like a comedy video, or from Instagram, from some caption, or from more kind of profound points like very kind of meaningful songs, or protest lyrics, or books, or so the kind of phrases that informed this came from a variety of places, and I found very quickly that they were all kind of, the things that I was pulling towards me were all tied to the same thought, which was this autonomous act of severing oneself from the world, and obviously now systemically that's an issue and it is being forced on us. Like if we think about social media, for example, we think about the way that media, like contemporary media, is structured generally. We're supposed to be angry, we're supposed to be divided, we're supposed to have short attention spans. So there are all of these ways that systemically we are embodying this kind of separatism. And I mean, for example, this text piece is, none of these are my words. So all of these came from separate sources. This came from a question that was asked by an interviewer to Jean-Michel Basquiat in like 1983 or something like that. And then this is a direct translation of the word rosemary from Latin. And rosemary is my grandmother's name, so I responded to it in some way. And then this was from some stupid fucking like comedy thing. I don't know, but it was just like this extreme phrase, but I really liked it. So I ended up writing all of these down, and they kind of turned into this poem. But obviously they also, I'm only kind of realizing this now, but they're also fragmented phrases, just like the bodies are fragmented. And then also detail is, so I've obviously got these like, these are painted from images of these sculptures. And then the hands, the ears, and the feet are all from images of my own body. Because what I wanted to do in this is reinforce the act of a self-accountability. I didn't want to sit and go, you guys are doing this wrong. I didn't want it to be a blame thing, because I don't think that's useful or helpful or really meaningful. So I wanted to kind of bring my own sense of accountability and being with people into the work by incorporating my own like body parts into it, I guess. Yeah, I think that's a good like general description. I probably left stuff out, but yeah, that's about it, I think. Yeah.
Maybe if you can share something also about the really material choice that you make about, I think you fall in love with some pigments.
Oh yeah, yeah, very much. So the materials are, it's like dried pigment, which you mix with gum arabic and water, and it becomes this, and it's very like tactile, and when you look up close, it's very gritty and powdery and can kind of come off easily. And both of my parents are artists, so I learned how to mix pigment from my mom. And that's why, and she also uses this blue quite often, so that's literally my starting point. This was a very familiar medium to me. And the gold leaf, I don't know why I chose it. I think honestly, it was an immediate like aesthetic response to it. I liked how it looked. I liked the different things it evoked. I like the texture. So I think especially with these, like, yes, they're pigment on paper, and that's maybe a bit more flat and two-dimensional, but the materials are very, very three-dimensional in my view, and especially when you come up close and kind of look at how they're structured. And I think that also ties into the embodiment or disembodiment that I'm trying to communicate. Yeah, that's that. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything more to say. You can just read the blurb. So, yeah.
I love the text, and I had no idea in reading it that that's how you reconstructed it. And that for me is like super interesting, and it reads like very dramatic.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Very.
But it's nice to know that it arrived there like through the conduit of like your kind of intuitive, your instincts, like pulling certain phrases from whatever. I particularly love that, and that fragmentation plays very nicely with the fragmentation of yourself through your body parts, and the fragmentation of the past literally breaking up into pieces. I'm going to stop there.
It reminded me of something I wanted to say, which might be repeating myself a bit, but I think it gives a little bit of like insight into why I got to this point. But I did my master's and I looked at the kind of culture of segregation and coloniality very specifically. And something that I realized was that segregation had become not just this kind of material act of the past, but because it had been so violently imposed and intensely and systematically imposed, it had also been internalized quite significantly. So it became kind of a point of view almost, like segregation became a way to solve problems. It became, this mechanism through which to understand and interact with other people and with the world, and particularly a way to engage with complexity and discomfort. So if you deal with something that's a bit uncomfortable or difficult, instead of like sitting with it, you step back from it and separate yourself from it. And so that was kind of the steps that I took from like looking at, apartheid history as this kind of historical act, this material act, this political act, to something that was very much a cultural norm and an embodied activity, I guess. So that's kind of how I got to this point. And I just wanted to give that context. Yes.
And there's also a very interesting, important thing that is linked to the colors, the medium, the gold leaf, which is this choice of display, which is like a altarpiece or a backdrop
very
for the
much.
crown. That's why
Very
this
much.
is, filling the space. And a triptych as a whole piece also. Right?
Yeah.
If you can talk a little bit about that also.
So I did this work entirely in the last 24 hours. And this one within the last 48 hours. I've been doing a lot of other work that isn't on display that led to these, and I only had the idea for this size and this structure 48 hours ago, or after I did this work, which just kind of came very intuitively. And I fucking love archways. I just like them. I really respond to them. I love them when I see them in architecture. I enjoy kind of religious art in that way. I think I respond to it, even though there's a deep-seated part of me that is very anti-religious in a lot of ways. So it just felt like the archways and that structure gave, and the gold as well, which you see often, particularly in Catholicism, but honestly in religions all around the world. Gold is a very kind of sacred metal. It talks about wealth, but it also talks about purity, which is a very complicated thing. And so I thought it was quite an interesting material and color to be working with. And with the archways, I feel like they almost like institutionalize what I'm saying. So they're ways that our ideas are given power within hegemonic structures. And a lot of that within art is using particular aesthetics to convey a sense of authority. And I think that the archways are very, not authoritarian, that's the wrong word, but they give that sense of the sturdiness of a hegemonic system, or a system of domination. But I also like the archways because to me they feel like portals, because they often are literally doorways, they're a way through to something else. So they do represent that kind of, the hegemonic structure, the strictness, the dominance, but they also represent a way through something, and they represent something sacred. And they are more organic than a regular door. So they evoke a lot of different feelings for me. So I think, thank you for that question. That was, that helped to articulate those things. So I think that's why I responded to that format. And I think the triptych specifically is often like very religious, particularly Christian art. If you go to any kind of art museum within Europe particularly, you will see a gold triptych there. Like it's a very kind of conventional Christian motif. And I didn't make these to grapple with Christianity explicitly, but Christianity obviously plays into coloniality, it plays into our moral and social justifications for dominance. So that's definitely a part of my upbringing as well. Like I was in an atheist household, but in a hyper-Christian school that was very conservative. South Africa is very religious. So I think that'll always play into my kind of point of view and locus. Yeah.
I think also with the gold, which is very important to me, is seeing the South African context in here, where apartheid has happened kind of as a result of the colonization of the African continent for its mineral resources.
Oh yeah.
And there is something about the preciousness of gold, which speaks about that, but also this kind of undergroundness and this archaeology that's being mined.
Yeah, interesting. Especially with that very earthy color. It's the pigment. That pigment is called Mars red. So it's also otherworldly as well as as being the most grounded, literally like soil-like pigment that I used.
And also you forgot to mention, obviously, since you were in Lisbon, the importance of gold, because we were also big import-export of our colonies.
Yeah.
Gold, because we have no gold here. So gold was a very strong underlying, message.
Yeah.
Because at the time of the independence of our colonies, we had our banks and safes full of gold from Mozambique, from Angola.
Yeah.
So it was also the link.
For sure, yeah. And so where Emily's standing there is, that's my journal, which I use for absolutely everything. If I lost that, I would actually be very, very sad. But it's, I use it as like a diary, but also as a way to work through ideas. And so you can kind of page through. I've clipped off some parts that you can't read because privacy. And then around that is these tiny little like metal, just very cheap wire rings that I made. And they have this kind of like fingerprint design like that. So you can actually like wear them, I guess, like that. And I kind of created them. Honestly, I was watching Netflix and I was lying in bed and I had to do something with my hands because I was getting bored. So I started making those, and then I realized that they tied into what I was thinking about, which is this idea of extracting oneself from the world and not leaving fingerprints. So this like illusion of being unable to, the choice of not leaving fingerprints, which on one hand allows you to escape a lot of pain. It allows you to escape your place in a difficult system, but it also means that you can't feel things, you can't touch things properly, you can't engage with the world in a tactile way. So, I mean, they hardly part of this, but that was also like an extension in my research of my ideas about this separation that we have. And the thing is, I don't judge that. I don't judge that separation, because dissociation has been used as a mechanism for survival for a long time. You know, it's a natural human thing to do to try and protect oneself. But if we want things to get better and we want our own relationships to be deeper and more profound, we do have to associate. We have to be here and we have to be in this world truly, and that comes with pain and difficulty. And it actually ties into Emily's work too, which is this idea of running away from trauma and from pain and from grief. You know, it's a deeply human thing, but you're not going to be alive really if you don't allow yourself to have those sensations, good and bad, and painful and joyful. So this isn't like, I never wanted to make these to make people feel guilty or bad, because I don't think that's a very productive emotion. I've made them so that people can begin to ease the discomfort they have with grappling with painful pasts, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to comment. I really think something that has been coming up during the residency is this idea of a ritual. And so maybe that's why I think this church environment, or the willingness of living a book, is really something that is speaking about a ritual of passage, of this idea of maybe escaping from the academic sector, where you have to justify every word you are saying, but then there is no space for action. And maybe I wanted just to return there to make a small comment, because I think you as an artist, as a maker, I think we're seeing one facade of you, but there are many others in terms of creation, of writing, and I think this is going towards action. So it's, for me, it's an interesting ritual to be present.
That's true, yeah. It does feel like a ritual, and this process has felt very ritualistic. I also deciding what to lay out and what that means, and it's like rituals are just a way to process things, and a way to give a moment, or a moment of respect to a feeling or a reality, or to your hopes or to your fears. So I thank you for saying that. The ritualistic kind of element of it is very important, particularly just personally and with what it meant to make these works. And also to, honestly, with these works specifically, it just felt like I was finally able to visually articulate a thought that I've been having for a long time. And painting is very hands-on, tactile, and ritualistic in a lot of ways. So, yeah.
Well done.
Thanks, guys. Let's go have a beer.
No, for sure.
You deserve it.